Well, hello everyone. I'm the Richter LABC president for this incoming year. And I want to welcome you and thank you all for coming here. And right now is the moment where I will ask you to turn off all your devices and open all your bag of chips and sodas and bottles to avoid uncomfortable noises during the presentation afterwards. I want to thank the Alumni Relations Office for making this happen and all the clubs that are involved in co-sponsoring this event, BNP Marketing and Operations Club. Thank you for doing this possible. Especially our guest, Mr. Carlos Morales, and his wife, and also alum of Class 97, Ekin Tukin. Mr. Morales is a civil engineer from MSIA University in Mexico, and then he earned his MBA degree here at Tepper in his class from 1997. After that, he joined McKinsey for a couple of years, and then had 15 years of experience in Telefonica, in Spain, Brazil, and Mexico. During those 15 years, he was involved with business development, marketing, operations, and digital business. He at some point was vice president for consumer business in Brazil and global head of the Internet of Things for Telefonica. And right now he's CEO of Telefonica Mexico. So please give a round of applause to Mr. Morales.
Thank you, Jerry, for the introduction. Thank you, Dean Bob Damon, for inviting me here. It's a pleasure. And first, I want to start introducing Ekin Tutek. We have been married for 20 years. And we met here, of course. I was saying that when a Mexican gets married to a Turkish, you know that your life is going to change. And this school really achieved to change my life, both professionally and personally. And so thank you for accompanying me here, Ekin, and thank you for accompanying me for these last 20 years, because while we're going to talk, you have been accompanying me all the time, so thank you very much for that. So I have prepared 3 topics for you guys, and then you can ask me more details about anything you want. One is my career path and what learnings I can extract from that. The second one, what are my current challenges and how I'm dealing with that. And third, I want to talk about leadership. At my time at Tepper, we didn't spoke about leadership, and now I'm very happy that you guys have this Acceleration Leadership Center, and I think leadership is what differentiates the world at the end. So if I start, I brought some pictures. These are pictures of me at Carnegie Mellon. We were young, as you can see. I was part of the soccer team, and I was playing with Ron in Israel at that time. and I always have been a Steelers fan since I was 9 years old. So it was a double dream made to come to Tepper and to come to Pittsburgh. And as Jerry was saying, basically, I did my internship at Procter & Gamble. Then I went to work for McKinsey & Company for 6 years in Mexico and in Madrid. And in Madrid, I met Telefonica. Telefonica was a client of McKinsey, and I have been 16 years with Telefonica. 16 years sounds like a lot, but I have had like 7 or 8 different jobs within the company. So my track record says that I change job every 2 or 3 years. Actually, I have been the CEO right now for 5 years in Mexico. I have been my record on that. And the jobs that I have taken have been very different. I started in strategy. I was CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. I did operations. I run the consumer business in Brazil, the Internet of Things, which is very digital, very new. And now I have been CEO. No? So we arrived here. What should I put here? So this is me today. Here is a former Mexico's president, and this is Mexico's current president. So I grabbed you 2 fancy pictures here about my job. So what can I extract from this career? What I can extract, I will read the first 4, and I will comment some examples on it. One is I always have had since very young this obsession of making things happen, because there's a lot of smart people out there, but not everybody can make things happen. And this question about your drive, or some other people call it your passion, it's very important to have a very passionate attitude of whatever you do, right? The second one is this culture of effort and learning, especially when you are at this disadvantage. And I don't know if I have this obsession, and Ekin says that I have this competitive attitude, that I always feel at a disadvantage. Like when I went to McKinsey, for example, I was very proud coming from Tepper. Yes, I was Superman, no? And then I told Ekin, oops, everybody here at McKinsey is very intelligent. Everybody are coming from the top schools. And more than that, in Mexico, a lot of these folks have a lot of networking. They were sons or nephews of ministers or executives or owners of companies. And I told Ekin, I'm doomed. And she told me, no, don't worry, you're gonna do fine. And always feeling this sensation of being at disadvantage made me always to put more effort. A lot of people say that today millennials don't have this culture of effort. I disagree. But I want to reinforce that this culture of making the best and giving 120% of your effort is very important. And then learning. When they put me in marketing without knowing marketing, the first thing that I do is I said, well, the first thing I was very open with my boss. I say, I don't know anything of marketing. Why you are asking me to do CMO, Chief Marketing Officer? I said, don't worry, you're going to do fine. And from day one, I started to learn. And I'll say, I'm going to learn marketing very well. And I did that also here at Carnegie Mellon, this taking risk and be open to new opportunities. My career tipping points have been when I have embraced change, like changing country, changing role. I was telling a group of students now that when I was promoted to head the Internet of Things in Spain, I told my boss, the one that was proposing, it was a British guy, I said, Dev, I have two questions for you. One question is why you're picking me. I don't know you, you don't know me, why you're picking me up. And he said, okay, because let me tell you that 4 people in the executive committee of the company, they talk very well about you, and for me that's enough. And that's why I'm offering this job. And I said, Dev, can I ask you the second question? What is it? What is the Internet of Things? and literally, I went to Wikipedia to find out what is the Internet of Things. But the day after that, I promised to myself to be the person that will know the most about the Internet of Things in the whole company. And I did. Actually, I came to Tepper to open my possibilities. I studied engineering. And I came to Tepper because I didn't know anything about finance. I didn't know anything about operations. And I came here. I took it very seriously, for example, the finance courses. And the second year, I achieved to be a teacher assistant of finance. So I don't know how it is today, but at that time, only PhD students could be teacher assistants. So I was teacher assistant of finance. I was giving classes of finance. And 1 year before, I didn't know anything about finance. So this attitude of taking risk and learn and effort, I think it's very important in life. I put there that sometimes nobody wants the best jobs. I'll tell you what I mean about that. Or it isn't clear what the best job is. And I'll give you an example. When I went to McKinsey in Spain, they put me in a project that nobody wanted. And nobody wanted that project because it was hell as a lifestyle. I was working until 1 o'clock in the morning every day or something like that. And it was a permanent collaboration with the CEO of Telefonica, by the way, at that time. And permanent collaboration is you attend whatever the CEO is worried about. So one day he was worried about the marketing organization, then about the efficiency of the sales force at the SME segment or CapEx optimization, etc. And nobody wanted that project. But for me, it was a blessing to be in that project for 2 reasons. One reason, I had the chance very early on in my career how a CEO was thinking. And the second one, I met these wonderful people. The CEO today, this ex-CEO today, is one of my mentors. And the McKinsey partner also is one of my mentors. By the way, it was a hell because nobody was pushing back, never. I mean, the CEO was saying, let's do this analysis. And then the McKinsey partner was saying, yeah, and let's do this 10 more analysis. And nobody was pushing back. That was hell for me at that time. But it turned out to be a blessing. So you never know what you are in one of the best jobs on your career for your future goals. And finally, I always talk about enjoy the culture. When I went to Spain, we really, any Spanish guy here, person here, no? Any Brazilian? Okay, hi. So we love Spain, we love Brazil, we love Mexico. Every time we go, we really try to enjoy the culture. Pittsburgh. We enjoy Pittsburgh, yes. Thank you very much. So really, we try to enjoy the people. We always have local friends. We put always put our children not in the American school necessarily, but in the Brazilian school, in the Spanish school, or wherever they are. So we really enjoy the culture and be grateful to that people that always help us at those critical moments. I learned, for example, at some point with my coach, we decided to write a letter to those critical people that have helped me around my career, and it's very important to be grateful. Now, to end up, two very important things. I copied this from my boss. He says that you have to have three things: be analytical, solve important problems. Two, you have to be a good person. In this competitive world, a lot of people out there forgets to be a good person. And finally, you have to have good luck. Some people say that luck does not exist, but I disagree. Luck exists. You can do all the right things, and sometimes it didn't happen. Your startup didn't happen, or the position that you wanted didn't happen, and you just had bad luck, and you have to start over again. And at some point of your career, and that's why I have this third chapter, everything is about leadership. If you go the corporate ladder at the beginning, if you are smarter than the others, you do fine. But later, you find that everyone is smart. And then it turns out to deliver results. And once that you deliver the results, the differentiator is how do you deliver those results? There's people that kill a couple of colleagues to deliver the results. And you don't want that people in your organization. So it's about the taste, the flavor, the teamwork that these people has. And at some point, everybody is smart, everybody delivers results, and everybody's a team player. So all the differentiator lies on leadership. And I will talk about leadership later. So okay, that's the first chapter. Let's go to the second one. It turns out that I work in a very difficult industry. It's an industry in pretty much distress. Despite that we're entering into a new era. We say that it's not an era of changes, it's a change of era. This fourth transformation, digital transformation, is the era of data. And this is going to bring a lot of challenges to the world and a lot of opportunities to the world. My company, I'm the CEO in Mexico, and it's one of the most admired companies in the world. We have more than 300 million customers, and we operate in more than 15 countries. And in Mexico, we have a lot of opportunities. And it's a country with still a gap in mobile penetration. It's a country with a lot of young people. It's a country with more or less a macroeconomic stability, but also, and this comes the social side of all of us as an executive, it's a country with a lot of challenges in terms of inequality, security, law, or I put there top families. What I mean is oligarchs, also that control the country many times. This is my company today. We have 25 million subscribers. We are very proud, and I'm very proud to say that I manage 25 million customers with only 2,000 employees. For a telco, this is like a global benchmark. My competitors have 20,000 employees or 35,000 employees. So we are proud to be a telco that is the first telco to use solar energy at a big scale. 40% of the energy that we use is solar. We have a startup accelerator that is called Guaira. For the moment, we have invested in around 50 startups in the company, and more we're making these startups to work together with the operation and with the company for win-win situations. And we have a foundation Also in Mexico, in which we're very focused on helping kids on learning experiences, digital learning experiences. And our role, and I put this page because speaking about the role of a company is very important. When you talk to your people, you have to talk about purpose. So our role during these 18 years in Mexico has been challenging the status quo because we're fighting monopolistic situations. Our competitor has 100% of the profits today, and we have been always challenging this position. So what I tell our employees, and they get very emotional about it, is that when we launch a new product, a new service with an affordable price, the first that benefits are our customers, but later the competition copy us, and then therefore the benefits go to all the Mexicans and to all the country. And this is the role that we play in Mexico. We always make communications better and much more affordable for all the Mexicans. And today we face very big challenges because I was telling you, we have what we call an unsustainable competition structure because one operator is taking the 100% of the profits. They have 70% of all the revenues. Is the most concentrated market in the developed countries, and the regulator has a role on that. We have an unfavorable market environment because prices go down. More or less here in the United States, a lot of people spend like $100 or $200 on their mobile phones. In Mexico, you can have unlimited voice and unlimited data for $20. So this is the level of competition, the fierce competition that we are facing. Regulation is pending to promote a greater competitiveness in the sector. AT&T entered our market 4 years ago. Well, AT&T, and AT&T is a very good company. It's my competitor. It's a very good company. I don't lose, but I don't win. And finally, right now, the Mexican government needs money to implement a lot of projects that they have in mind. So they have this attitude of chasing the multinational companies for more tax, more regulation. We pay the most expensive spectrum rights in the developed countries. So that's part of our challenges. And what we're doing, I say to my people, adding to that, my group, Telefonica, has a lot of debt. So they are focusing in reducing debt. And therefore, me as a Mexican operator, I don't have enough money to do all the CapEx and all the investment that we want. So we have to solve our lives in a very creative way. So I tell my people that when you are poor, that's when you develop new innovative ways to do things. And this is exactly what we are doing. For example, we focus a lot. I think there's no telco that has this. I have all the business plans of all the city by city in Mexico, business plans city by city. And therefore, and this is what Carnegie Mellon helps me a lot on the analytical stuff. So with all these business plans, city by city, hundreds of business plans, I make decisions of investments. I put the money where I'm going to get the most profit in the medium term. So we focus very much on key urban clusters to efficiently deploy the little resources that we have. Number two, we started to launch adjacent businesses. We are focused on mobile, but now we started to focus on Internet of Things, cloud computing, cybersecurity, big data. And so we're launching this new business. I have businesses that are growing 30%, others are growing 15%. So that's my way to compensate all the crisis that is coming in the core business. Cost excellent and asset light operation. This is a new change of mind for telco operators. Telco operators are engineers that they are very proud. The more infrastructure you have, the better. The more people you have, the better. And we're changing all that. I mean, for me, the less infrastructure I have, the better. The less people I have, the better. I mean, we are in the era of the Ubers, the Airbnbs, and whatever. So we try to think how the telco of the 21st century has to be. So we capture a lot of efficiencies, we sell assets, and we're always optimizing our portfolio. Collaborative innovation is very interesting because We don't have the money to do all the projects that we want to do. Play to win is very important. We always decide in which products and in which markets we are very aggressive, and with this mentality of not playing not to lose, but play to win. And finally, we are open to do network sharing agreements. For example, I'm shutting down infrastructure and I'm renting infrastructure from my competitors. So in that way, instead of having one antenna of AT&T, one antenna of America Mobile, one antenna of Telefonica, we have only one antenna, and I rent all the rest. So all these are new innovative ways of running a telco company. And finally, this is completed with what I call a new attacker culture. A professor of mine always said that you can have the best strategy, but if you don't have the right culture in the company, the strategy is going to fail. The culture is going to have the strategy for breakfasts. And this is the changing in the culture that we are doing. My company as a multinational, they are used to be incumbent companies, but I am an attacker. So I am an attacker within an incumbent culture. So I'm always fighting internally on how to live these core values. Open, bold, trusted. We want to be a company that is agile, close, transparent to all our stakeholders. I mean, your stakeholders are not only your employees, your customers, but also your investors, the government, the society, and your allies. And I put a lot of my time is spent in changing the culture of the company and evolving the culture of the company on that way. And here are some achievements. I mean, they're in Spanish, but for example, we are leaders in connecting cars in Mexico. We have, this is public, we have this very strong partnership with General Motors. So all the General Motors cars are being connected by Telefonica in Mexico. We have this alliance with Netflix. If you buy one of my products, you can have Netflix and accessible prices. We have this deal with the NFL. We are the official sponsors of the NFL in Mexico. So this is more or less a summary of, I say to my people that when I was at school, I was tiny and skinny, and my way not to get bullied was to have friends. So we as a company, we are small and skinny. We need to have friends. So this you can see as part of our friends here. And in terms of recognitions, well, it's we get this type of recognitions like the most responsible company in the telecom industry in Mexico, the best corporate social responsibility practices, company of the year on the Internet of Things, and I like this one very much, the fastest 4G LTE network. And I like this because how a company can achieve that without money, because my competitors have 5 times more CapEx or 6 times more CapEx, and I get the fastest 4G LTE network, and this all has to do with all the analytics and focus in urban areas that I was talking to you about. So this is about my challenges and how I am trying to address those. So let me finalize with a little bit talk about leadership. As I was saying, we're getting into a new digital era, and the world is going to face very important challenges to the future. You can talk about cybersecurity or intelligent weapons or opportunities like solving hunger for good or solving education. I mean, today you can educate a child with technology at better prices than in the past. So a lot of the problems can be solved in the future. Your generation are going to solve a lot of problems. And I believe that what is going to make the difference is going to be leadership. And I use this framework that is called transformational leadership. And I think that a leader has to have these 3 dimensions. One is the analytical dimension, which is very important for strategic thinking, solving difficult problems, etc. And I'm sure that you guys have all this. If you are at this school, I'm sure that you guys have this. But the other 2 are more difficult to find. The second one is empathy. Oops, sorry. Oops. Okay. Yes. The second one is empathy. And personally, this is the one that is the most difficult to me. Empathy means that you can feel what others can feel. And if you can do that, you can lead an organization not only by reasoning, but also by emotions. Actually, it's more powerful and more effective to lead an organization by emotions. You can have this sense of purpose, ability to influence, motivational skills. And so empathy is really very important. Listening, you don't know, you cannot imagine how people I meet that they don't know how to listen. And actually, Ekin and me, we talk a lot when we exit a party or a wedding and we meet important people, and you realize that a lot of people do not have these listening skills, and it's very important to listen. And the other one is, of course, the ethical, because at some point of your career, you are getting close to a borderline of very important ethical issues, and sometimes you don't realize, and without you noticing, you can trespass the line of ethics. And it's very important that you are an authentic leader, transparent leader, leading by example. Some people, if you really want your people to behave in some ways, like with your children, you have to lead by example. And it's not only important to know what to do the right thing, but I give a lot of importance about be. You have to be. And I put this example about your children. If you want your children to be a good readers, I think it's like magic. If you are a good reader, they will become probably a very good readers. At my home, for example, I was thinking that my children never see me read because I read at night, and at that time they are sleeping. But by magic, I think they know that you are a good reader. Something magical happens. So when you are a truly person, an authentic person, your people really know what type of person they are dealing with. They trust you. People trust you. If you want to lead an organization, you need trust. And these are some leadership practices. I myself, besides of my career path professionally, I have followed a path of trying to improve myself on leadership. I started, I think, like in 2004, taking these emotional intelligence courses. And then I have had coaches. I also went to Harvard to improve my leadership skills. I work with the Oxford Leadership Academy, and I took a lot of them from the Oxford Leadership Academy, and I try to apply this every day. I have this my notebook. Every time that I finish a new notebook and I get a new one, I write down all these kind of things in order to try to remember. And I just read it, and if you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. One is leadership is about relationships, and the relationship is about the conversations that you have. So you have to have conversations with your team, with your wife. No? You have to have conversations, and the quality of those conversations is the quality of your relationship. Second, I try to remember always the Pygmalion effect. The way that you see the people affects the results, so it's important to exercise telling people positive things. 3, when I'm in trouble, I remember this one: where attention goes, energy flows, and where energy flows, life grows. Number 4, the importance to be present and be intentional. For example, at my meetings, no computers, no phones. Everyone has to be focused, and half an hour that we are together and we're focusing in solving the problem. 5, and working in a multinational is very important. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for everything, because you have a lot of bosses and people, there's a lot of interest going on, and you have to stand for something, for whatever you believe, and fight for that. Grateful attitude, very important. The principle of the detached observer is like, there's a lot of leaders that someone tells you a story, you get angry, and you take a decision, and you react. A leader never reacts. First you have to understand the context, the whole picture, and then taking decisions. Strategy and character, if you have to get rid of one, get rid of the strategy. 9, observe your thoughts, your internal conversations, doing this exercise of introspection, to knowing yourself, and I can always help me a lot on knowing myself better, and observing your internal conversations, your thoughts, and know yourself, and in order to have the appropriate reactions to everything. And finally, very important, resilience. You have to give example to the whole organization when you are passing difficult times. When you are having difficult times, is when your true self shows. I mean, when the times are good, everyone is good. Everyone is ethical. Everyone is perfect. But when the times are difficult, is where your true self really shows, and your people is observing that. So I'm going to finalize just with a gift for you. For me, coming to Tepper was like a new start. It was a new start on my life, both professionally and personally. And I'm sure that you're going to pass through this, and you're going to have a good your new start for yourself. So there's this Indian ancient book called the Upanishad, and they have any from India here? No? Do you know the Upanishad? Okay. So they kind of have a lot of wisdom of our ancestors in India. And I love these phrases that I'm going to put to you. Is like for your new start. And it says like this: you are what your deepest desire is. As your desire is, so is your intention. As your intention is, so is your will. As your will is your deed. And as your deed is, so is your destiny. So I just want to wish you a very happy and successful destiny for you and your lives here at Tepper School. Thank you very much. That's me today with my family. Questions?
My name is Ashay. First of all, thanks so much for your time here. As you know, I'm from India, and the telecom industry there is extremely competitive. There's 15 to 20 players, and cost of data is 50 cents for a gig. America is more concentrated with 4 players with 95%. And as you said, Mexico with America Movil having 70% of share is extremely concentrated as well. So in Telefonica, how do you leverage best practices from across the different countries, from Spain, from Brazil, and other countries of operations, to form your strategy in Mexico in order to tackle competition and diversify your business?
Okay, thank you for your question. Yeah. I think there are 2 aspects here. Yes, because we operate in 15 countries, we always try to copy each other best practices. So we do have these functional groups. We have a marketing group, we have a sales group, a network group, and there is how we copy each other. That's one thing. But the second thing, and this part of the challenges that I have, is that a lot of our operations, from the 15 operations, maybe 12 are incumbents. And part of my internal fighting every day is to show the company that we are attacker and that I need to be more agile. And what we do is that now we're starting to get together the different attackers in order to have a different culture in terms of agility, etc., decision making, etc. For example, right now, as we speak today, it's happening in Barcelona, the Mobile World Congress. And for example, my team is taking authorities and important people of Mexico to meet important people in Spain to teach them how they did in Spain in order to have a better market, a more organized market with 3 players, more or less in even positions. And at the end, in the long run, that helps a lot to the country. Spain is one of the best connected countries in Europe. We have more fiber optic than, I think, Germany, Italy, and UK combined. And that's because the regulator was very intelligent to set the right rules for all the players to invest enough. So yes, we do a lot of benchmarking, and part of my job is to talk with my colleagues and set groups. For example, I help other countries in the Internet of Things. We are benchmarking Mexico in Internet of Things, so I help Peru, I help Colombia on bringing up their Internet of Things business. That's how we work.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Alex. Thank you for the talk. I'm curious if you talk a little bit about how you've changed the culture to more of an attacker. Is that you find new people? Is it you change the people you have? Or what initiatives do you put in place to make that happen?
It's one of the most difficult things to do. I can assure you, changing culture, it's really very difficult. I think it involves many things. One, I am proud to be the first Mexican leading a Mexican operation, because in the past there were only Spanish people. So I think the company, my own company, made the mistake only to have one nationality. I mean, nothing against anyone, but when I arrived, I think I was lucky because the people was very charming, were very loving with me, because I was the first Mexican leading the Mexico office. And so they were saying, at last a Mexican is leading here, whatever. And I was lucky because the people received me very well. So I took advantage of that to start changing the culture. Second, I changed people. I changed a lot of people. Like from my executive committee, at some point, I arrived as CEO, but then the company decided to join the president and CEO position. So now I'm president and CEO. So when you gather the two teams together, I had like 16 direct reports in the executive committee. And I say, guys, this is not going to happen. I cannot have 16 direct reports. So I think at the end, like 10 people changed, and I brought new people. I am bringing new people. For example, one of our vice presidents, it's a girl, and she's only 36 years old, and very digital, very dynamic, with a new mindset. So I am all the times trying to gather the right people for the new. By the way, when I came, there was no women in our executive committee. Well, there was one, but she was retiring. So practically there was no women. And today, 30% of my executive committee are women, which is a very good number for Mexico. I'm not happy yet, but it's a very good number for Mexico. And then another one is, I'll tell you, and I learned this from a person in my team, leading by example. If you want an organization that is ethical, you have to be ethical. If you want an organization that is hardworking. If you want, everything that you do gives a lot of example because everybody is observing what you're doing. This person tells me, Carlos, you are like in an aquarium. Everybody is looking at you. All the organization, whatever. If you say good morning, everybody is looking at you. If you start late, if you put bad example and you start sending emails on weekends at 2 o'clock in the morning, everybody will talk about that. And so everybody is looking at you. So the most important thing, so there's a lot of things that I can tell you about changing culture, but the most important thing is leading by example. If you take care of the customer, the people will take care of the customer.
My name is Manuel. I'm from Panama, and Panama works in apparently a similar way to Mexico in that there's big families and they're often connected, but business gets tricky. So I'm wondering, how do you approach furthering the goals of your business while managing those relationships with the families and because it's such a small inner circle in most of Latin America. So how do you approach that?
Yeah, most of Latin America is that, and it's a huge challenge. Let me tell you, because it happened to me. For example, give me one example. When I started, I realized that I couldn't put stores in many commercial centers because they were working with my competition. And the commercial centers had prohibited to let Telefonica to put stores there. So it's not a free world exactly. It's not exactly a free world. So it's a lot of work, and I'm still not that successful on that. I'm still working on that because it's very hard to break these monopolies and these oligarchs. So first, I work with government. Second, I work with media. I dedicate a lot of time to journalists, and I show them the data. Look, this is what is happening. This is what is happening. This is what's happening. So journalists also can help you to create pressure on that. I work with the regulator. I work with the families, and also I work a lot with multinational companies. For example, I am part of the executive committee of the multinational companies in Mexico. Companies like, well, AT&T, but also companies like Ford, General Motors, banks. So I am part of the leading committee of this community of CEOs, and in that way I'm also trying to influence, and not only for my company, also for the success of Mexico as a country. We talk about policies, about ethics, about equality, about bringing more women into the workplace. So I'm working with a lot of CEOs. I'm also represent the Spanish CEOs in Mexico. because my company is Spanish. So I organize these meetings with a lot of Spanish CEOs in Mexico. We are more than 50. So I'm immersed in all these type of communities, trying to push not only for my company, but for more equality in Mexico in general.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm Deepak, I'm a second year student here. One of the things that you talked about that really resonated with me was how you talked about you continue to learn as you keep going forward. So I was curious if you could share with us like some of the things, some of the sources that you use to keep learning even at the stage that you're in. And also maybe if there was one book that you could recommend everyone of us to read, what would that be?
Okay, thank you. Well, in terms of learning, I think there are, or I divide the two types of learning. One is strictly professional. I would say three things. Well, one is strictly professionally of the topic that you are leading with. So let me put you an example. When my boss told me to go to marketing as chief marketing officer, and I said, I don't know anything about marketing. For example, I went to work and I asked permission for 1 week. I went to work in Spain for a publicity company. And they put me in the Audi team. So I was making advertising for Audi for 1 week. So I saw exactly how this company worked. And then at night, like at 7 o'clock, when all the people was going, it was very kind of him, the creative director, is called the creative director, came with me, put me in an auditorium like this, and started showing me ads, a lot of ads. It was like how is this called? There's Yes, thank you. That movie, all the time like that, watching ads. And this creative director was telling me, Carlos, is that ad good or bad? I was, it's good. No, it's bad. It's bad for this. Okay, what about that one? That one is bad. No, this one is good because of the other. So I think I spent 1 week, like 2 or 3 hours every day for 1 week watching that. So when I finished that week, I came back and I felt a lot of confidence. I think it's more important. A lot of confidence to be able to know what to ask to the publicity companies and how to evaluate the job of a publicity companies. So I always have looked for these innovative ways and to go to the source. I mean, the best way is to learn, go to the source, go to see clients, go to see how other companies are doing it. With the Internet of Things, it's also the same thing. I started with books, but then at the end, you end up learning from customers and from real-time projects of the Internet of Things. And that's why I did that. That is the professional type of the specific matter of what you are doing. The second one, as I was telling, I have always tried to follow this personal journey of self-improvement, a lot focus in leadership. One of my challenges, still is a challenge, I have a very choleric mood. So when I was young, and still sometimes I have difficulty to control this choleric reactions. So I started in 2004 taking these emotional intelligence courses, and then all that developed and getting a coach. In Brazil, for example, for 4 years I had a coach. I wanted my coach to help me how to understand better the Brazilian culture and how to be able to motivate the Brazilians at my work, because I was leading I had like 25,000 employees at that time. 25,000. So how you can reach 25,000? So for example, I was renting a theater and I was giving the most important 2,000 employees, I was telling them what I wanted for the quarter, how the last quarter went and what one went. So all that type of things with the coach helped me also to develop this. So I always trying to learn. At some point I went to Harvard also for 2 months on the leadership program. I went to Oxford Leadership Academy. I got a coach for the Oxford Leadership Academy. So all the time I'm trying to improve myself in terms of leadership on that. And the last one I'll say, it's how to be a better person also with your family and in your life. And today I can tell you, and we're very happy, I can tell you that my relationship with my wife is every year is better because you face a lot of challenges. My relationship with the kids, try to balance your life. So all that third part is also really very important in your life. Yes.
Sadly, we've run out of time.
Okay.
Thank you, Carlos. And one last words of the day.
Okay.
Carlos and Aiken, thank you for being back. It's great to have you here. I know you were back 2 years ago for your reunion, but I think prior to that it was a number of years before you had been back here. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your leadership journey with the students. It was great. And it's great to see you again. I had these folks in class myself. And I'm still waiting for that letter that you're writing to all those people that had influence in your life. I'll be checking my mailbox for a while. No, thank you.
It's on the way. It's on the way.
Thank you for being here. It's always a lot of fun and a pleasure to welcome back our alumni, but especially one that I had in class and someone that's been so successful as you have been. If I had known at the time that you were going to be in the position you're in, I maybe would have treated you a little bit better. But you'll forgive me. On behalf of the school, students, faculty, administration, we just want to give you a small token of our appreciation for being here today.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation.